Welcome to another edition of Beyond the Headlines. This evening, we are following up on news which broke over the weekend, and I'm pleased to present our panelists this evening, the Honorable Minister for Health, Mr. Nicholas Steele. Dr. Sean Charles is the Acting Chief Medical Officer, and we will be joined a little later on, hopefully, by a member of the COVID-19 committee, Dr. Let's see, no, Mike, remind me, Dr. George Mitchell. We will be joined by him a little later on. So, Dr. Mitchell, wherever you are, we need you to sign in onto Zoom and get a discussion started. But gentlemen, it is great to have you with us this evening.
Good evening to you and to all of your listeners and viewers out there.
All right, so I'm wondering who's batting first this evening? Who's first up at the wicket this evening? Dr. Charles, is it you because you have some updates for us?
Well, first let me say good evening to you, and good evening to your viewing and listening audience. I guess I can bat first by maybe just providing you with a summary of what transpired on the weekend. Heading into the weekend, Grenada had 45 cases of COVID-19 identified. And over the weekend, we identified another 36. So in a nutshell, that's basically what happened. Where the cases occurred or what they were linked to is what is important. As we know, the majority of these cases were linked to exposures that occurred at a hotel in the south. And particularly, for one of the employees of the hotel, there was significant reinfection, or not reinfection, but significant secondary infection among family relatives that live in the same household. We had a total of 15 additional persons in as secondary cases from one of the employees. So that, in a nutshell, is what happened over the weekend. So as it stands, we have a total of 40 active cases of COVID in Grenada at present.
So, Doctor, yesterday you said at the press conference that I believe you had sent samples. I remember the number 127, and you were looking at splitting between St. George's University and the General Hospital. Do you have an update as to some of the results that might have come back today?
All right, so I gave you part of the update in that we added an additional 9 cases. Now, of course, there are still some samples that are outstanding, and we will give an update once we get those results.
Okay, great. So let's go to the Honorable Minister for Health. Mr. Steele, welcome. And you have some things that probably throughout the day where you're processing in your head that you think you need to say to the Grenadian public. What is that?
Well, thank you again for the opportunity. This meeting comes right out of our national address from our Prime Minister. So I want to first and foremost speak directly to that and the specific points raised by him in terms of our way forward, national way forward. There is now all social activities are curtailed to no more than 10 persons, which includes weddings and funerals. And that all activities, all commercial activities shall cease at 10 p.m. Also that restaurants, bars, etc., food places should move immediately to takeout services only, no dining in. These are the measures that have been taken. Daytime activities remain the same, save and except that we are asking individuals to only be involved in essential activities. That is, go to work, purchase of food, banks, or whatever essential business that needs to be conducted during the day, and proceed home. This is the way forward in order to deal with the current situation. It will give the epidemiological team, the team that is out there doing the contact tracing, the time to manage this current situation to make a complete determination. As we can all understand, if we continue to have mass activities, social activities, then there is a trickle-on or domino effect on it. Any new person discovered to have been infected or connected to a case being identified now, if we continue to have social activities, then we also have to go and follow up on the social activities that an individual may have attended or participated in. So that is why we're asking for the next 7 days in the first instance that we do this, so that the team, Dr. Sean's, Dr. Charles's team, and frontline contact tracers can get the necessary job done. These are not draconian measures. These are measures that we're seeing implemented elsewhere. They are necessary measures in order to curtail the spread of this disease. We expect the full cooperation of the Grenadian public. In previous instances, we know that individuals who have not been compliant with saying that there is no evidence of mass COVID-19 in Grenada. In this instance, this is most definitely the case, that there are large amounts of individuals who are infected with COVID-19, and as such, we would think that everyone would take it seriously and follow the guidelines that have been given, so that the team, the health team in particular, the public health team in particular, can focus its efforts on contact tracing and identifying individuals and isolating individuals, and not have to focus efforts on getting members of the public to comply.
So you wanted to deal with the points made by the Prime Minister. So I made some quick notes, and I think he registered a 5-point plan. All social gatherings, 10 people limit, and that includes weddings and funerals. All sporting and cultural activities are off for the next 7 days. Businesses are to close at 10 p.m. Restaurants only offering takeaway services. Buses are to stop serving the public at 10 o'clock. And he said that a nationwide shutdown is not the preferred option at this time. So already our social media platforms are lighting up. People have questions about church services. What happens there?
Church services we found to be generally compliant. Most of the religious community have gone to Mass. This is the season of Advent as well. And we expect churches to comply from the point of view of maintaining or moving to the 6-foot distancing, ensuring that individuals wear masks when attending the service, go directly there and then leave. And we believe from an epidemiological standpoint, risk standpoint, that this activity can be allowed.
Okay, so the number 10 does not necessarily apply to the church services. Just clarifying.
No.
Okay, great. All right, so let's get into some of the nitty-gritties. And Dr. Charles, I'd like to come to you. One of the things that we have seen a common thread running through conversations, people have been commenting about the Sandals episode or episodes, and they're saying it's a scandalous Sandals scandal. Do you concur?
No, I do not concur. We have a cluster of cases. We have an event that occurred at Sandals. As you are aware, the world is experiencing an intense resurgence of COVID-19. This occurred at Sandals. It does not mean that it may not pop up somewhere else. What it does, it gives us an opportunity to re-examine everything that we are doing at all of our sites, all of our hotels, all of whether quarantine or not, and to re-examine and to see where there are areas that that can be improved. All right, it's just their luck that it happened at this facility.
When you say it's their luck that it happened at this facility, are you saying then that it could have happened at any other facility?
We must remember that our borders are open. And we have persons that are traveling from countries where there is community spread. We have our families that are traveling from countries where there is community spread, all right? If persons at any of the locations where we quarantine individuals or where individuals stay after they land in the country, if persons are not adhering strictly to the prevention guidelines, then something like this can happen. COVID-19 is a very contagious disease, and any opportunity where the virus can escape and can find a host, it will occur.
So, Dr. Charles, questions that we see emanating from the social media platforms of the GBN ever since this broke yesterday still remains. Why is it that you are asking Grenadians who have come in to do the PCR tests, and you have had the cases where you had the rapid testing being done and being placed into quarantine, but the guests at Sandals are not subjected to the same protocols?
So the guests at Sandals must have a pre-travel PCR. The guests at Sandals are not allowed to leave the hotel and enter into the community without a negative PCR test. So it does not significantly deviate from what is required by other persons entering the country.
And how long in advance should that PCR test date to? I know that there was the 1 week and then it was updated to 3 days. Based on what we saw, we think in the Sandals case is 1 week?
Right. So our entry protocol has a PCR requirement of, well, it was recently 7 days and was recently updated, I believe, on the 28th of November or thereabouts, to 72 hours.
So it's updated to 72 hours, and that applies to the Sandals guests. And can you tell us about random testing and how often have you been doing the random testing? Was random testing conducted at Sandals prior to Friday of last week?
Well, I mean, obviously, our random testing was not done as frequently as enough as we would like, all right? But what matters is that testing was done and we were able to identify this cluster.
Some people consider that to be a flippant answer, and not just because you've just given it, but people who listened to the press conference yesterday found that to be very flippant. And some people have accused the Ministry of Health and the government of lying. And forgive me here, I'm repeating some of the utterances that have been made in the public domain. There are some employees of Sandals who have said to us at the GBN that there was no random testing before, and the Ministry of Health said in a press statement that the random testing began last week, Wednesday, and the employees are saying to the GBN, have said to the GBN that that's a total lie.
Let me come in here on this. The bare definition of random testing. Of course, there will be some employees in Sandals that have not been tested as yet or so because the testing is random. But I want to specify here that it was Sandals' initiative as well that said, listen, we would like to step up on the testing and we want you guys to come in more often, or we want you guys to come in this week. So that's one of the reasons that this case was discovered. While the ministry has its random testing for not just Sandals, this is not a Sandals issue. This is a hospitality industry issue, and this is random testing as a whole. We've done over 11,000 PCR tests to the population to date. Frontline workers within the healthcare sector, but not all. So you will have certain health workers that would be able to say factually that they have not been tested as yet. And you will have others that will be able to say that, yes, they have. We have also done so for some police officers. We've done so for hospital workers, and we've done so for hospitality sector workers. So you are kind of insinuating that, not insinuating, clearly saying that the ministry is lying. The facts are that we have clearly said there is random testing. And in having random testing, I'm sure you should be able to clarify and agree with me that there would be individuals who would not be tested as yet or would not have been tested recently.
And I always like to clarify, Mr. Minister, that on this program, we ask questions that we think as journalists need to be asked, but also one of the big things for us is to represent members of the public. So we have been monitoring some of the feedback that has been coming in on our social media platforms, as well as we have spoken to some of the employees, and that is what they have reported to us, and we're just getting the questions out to you. So I just want to make sure that we...
No, I'm not arguing with you. I think we're saying the same thing, and you saying random testing. The only point that I'm making is that the ministry has not been lying, as you have said.
As employees of the Sandals would have accused the ministry of so doing. Let's make it clear that it is the employees who have so said.
Yes, I'll agree with you there.
Right. So you said, Mr. Minister, that Sandals, there's random testing, so some employees would not know if they weren't tested that random testing is taking place. That's a given, understood. You said that Sandals called in the ministry. Why was it necessary for Sandals to ask the ministry to come in?
No, Sandals said that they wanted to do a larger sample of tests. And so they communicated to us to say that they would like to instigate a larger sampling of testing. And that's what we facilitated with them this week.
Minister Odette, would you mind if I step in for a second?
No, Dr. Mitchell, I need to first introduce you to the public so that they don't think any random person, although I know the entire population knows you. But let me just do that. We did mention that you will be on. To viewing audience, let me introduce Dr. George Mitchell. He is the former head of the COVID-19 committee. He is still a member of the committee. Dr. Mitchell, it is great to have you with us this evening.
Thank you, Odette. As usual, it's a pleasure for me to be here. It's a pleasure to interact with all of your constituents, if I may call them, or your listening public. I just wanted to step in on the issue of the random testing and against a concept of proactive testing. And to sort of like streamline the conversation, the issue of the tests that were done recently at Sanders was really a collaborative effort. Sanders, as part of their program, thought it was necessary to do that. And mind you, there are other facilities that are speaking the same language. I've had these conversations with other facilities that have said to us, we don't mind having this test done in a structured way. So Sanders was out there and we facilitated that. We thought it was actually a good thing to do. And so that happened last Thursday. And that is where we picked up that particular case. But it is something that we were also contemplating to do what we call proactive testing. And we have been doing that to a certain extent in certain sectors. We believe that wherever the risk is more prevalent or more, that is where you need to do that if you need to do really good surveillance. So apart from random testing, apart from just routine testing, there is something called proactive testing that we will do at every stage of an epidemic or as your general surveillance warrants it. So this is exactly what is the next sector. We believe.
All right, so let me go back to the minister. Minister Steele, can you tell us what is the status of the employees at Sandals? We've heard reports that some of them have been asked to report in and be prepared to stay for at least 3 days. Are they holed up at the hotel or have they all been sent back to their families?
We have requested that they make arrangements that employees are not going back and forth until we get a firm grasp of the situation. So Sandals would have called out certain specific employees, asking them to report and to stay on property. That was our request, that they stay on property because there are individuals there, their guests that need to be looked after and fed as we deal with this situation. So that communication would have been made, as well as we wanted all other employees of Sandals to report to be tested. Now, the arrangements and the communication we made with them is that Sandals was to make arrangements for those employees to be transported by Sandals to the property for them to be tested. If you look at the statement that was released yesterday, it says clearly that Sandals has been declared a testing site so that their employees can proceed there, transported by Sandals to be tested so that we could make a determination. Now, a significant number of employees would have been transported there and then brought back to their homes and told to isolate until we have the results. And then there would have been others based on their roles that they play at Sandals that would have been asked to come in and stay there for a duration until we could clear them to leave, but in order for them to make sure that the facility is able to operate under its current conditions and based on the instructions we gave them.
Okay, so Minister, just in case I missed any part of this, can you just remind me of the number of guests who have tested positive?
Dr. Charles, I believe it is 9 guests.
Okay.
Yeah. Dr. Charles, you want to confirm that? Yes?
Yeah, 9 is correct.
Right. So, Dr. Charles, what is the status of the guests? Are they being transported off island? Are they allowed to remain?
Well, the guests from reports are asymptomatic, and they have to receive public health clearance. All right, so they are going to be monitored, and they will have follow-up testing to ensure that they're clear. Of course, there are different criteria that we will apply with regards to clearance. Both WHO and CDC requires, at least for persons who are asymptomatic, to have had at least 10 days before being allowed clearance. So we will take all of these into consideration in addition to our testing to arrange for their clearance.
Okay, so let's break that down and be clear. So you'll be saying that these guests are to remain in Grenada for at least another 10 days. Is that correct?
10 days from the date of their confirmation.
10 days from the date of their confirmation. And the other
At least
guests,
10 days, yes.
Right. And the other guests who have not returned a positive test, what happens to them?
Once the timers arrive for those guests to depart, they depart.
Okay, some people are questioning the wisdom of having some of the employees return to their homes. And there's a scenario of a young employee at Sandals who works in the bar, and she's tested and she's sent home, but she lives with an elderly grandmother. And what is the wisdom of sending that employee back home, considering that that person could be somebody who contracted the virus?
All right, so remember, we expect everyone to exercise a level of personal responsibility and be their brother's keeper and do everything in their power to ensure that they, if they are infected, do not pass on a disease to others, right? That is one aspect. In addition, we do not have at present facilities to house a large number of positive cases. It's just a fact that we have to grapple with. So we ask individuals to self-isolate at home. When we ask you to self-isolate, we expect you to comply and you to do all in your power to ensure that the persons around you are not placed at risk. It involves wearing of masks. It involves adhering to physical distancing. It involves sanitizing. These measures are internationally recognized as being effective to control this disease. And we expect that persons would adhere to them and avoid any further risk to others.
So let me raise a scenario, Doc, because we know the society in which we live, and we are picturing a wooden house, 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, a small living room, and you have an elderly citizen living there and an adult daughter and 3 adult children, one of whom is an employee of Sandals. How is that possible?
Well, of course, we are aware that all scenarios are not ideal. What we have done in the past is that where there are scenarios where there is a positive case and a situation exists, as you mentioned, we have placed them at state locations, that is, locations paid for by the state, to isolate until they are granted public health clearance to return. Now, this is something that we have done for persons who have tested positive, right? This is something that we have not done for persons, for example, who are just being monitored, they're negative. We have not done this as yet.
Okay. So someone is asking, can you ask, I'm sorry, I lost it here. Can you ask whether eventually the hotel will be closed for a complete desanitization?
Well, if I'm to answer that question, we are not recommending that Sandals close. We are recommending that whatever happens has to be done safer and maybe to a different standard. Right? This is what our recommendation is. Sandals is quite a big property, and I'm sure in a phased manner they can achieve the same goal of sanitizing regions without having to close.
All right. Mr. Minister, is that something probably at the higher level, policy-wise, that could be looked into or is being looked into already?
In terms of the closing?
And for looking at, probably you need to sanitize the entire place.
But remember that we have had other facilities since reopening where persons have tested positive. We have had persons come in quarantine and test positive. We haven't closed those facilities either. What is at issue here is not the particular establishment. What is at issue here is the fact that a hotel worker was infected. And I think that's what Dr. Charles was pointing to, that this could occur at any of the establishments where hotel workers are working, where we have people coming in and either awaiting their 4-day test or, as in the case of this establishment, to stay on property and can only leave property to go to the airport to leave. So that is what we are addressing, because whatever the issue is in this instance, we need to ensure that it is not occurring in any of the other establishments. So this needs to be looked at from the fact that it is an employee or employees being infected in the hospitality industry. And that is the approach we're taking. If we are to take measures to say Sandals must close and sanitize without being able to determine what measures must be taken in the future or at present to make sure that employees are protected, because the protocols, I still believe that the protocols are the proper protocols. It is if and when there is a breach in those protocols, and that's what we have referred to here specifically. If the protocols are not followed in one institution, there will be a breach. If the protocols are not followed in another institution, there will be a breach as well. So it is to find the specific details of the breach, at the same time to find the gravity or the level of infection as a result of this breach and address it accordingly.
And In your thinking, because all of us have a brain and we think, in your thinking, where do you think the breach occurred, Mr. Minister?
But based on the science, if the protocols, which is the wearing of masks, hand sanitizing, and maintaining of distance, is followed, then there is not, or there is a significant ability to protect oneself. That is done in the medical industry as well. We treat, and all over the world, we are treating individuals who are positive. If any of those three are not followed, then there is the possibility of that of infection. But we have our frontline workers that are testing individuals, and the individuals may test positive and are going back to test the individuals who are positive, knowing that they are positive, and they are not being infected because they are following the protocols. Once the protocols are followed, then individuals can interact with persons who are high risk or even persons who are known to be positive.
Doc, let me ask you a question. Dr. Charles. Dr. Charles, I'll come back to you in a minute. Let me just stay with Minister Steele, and then we'll take a commercial break. Minister Steele, as a minister, I remember you got very passionate during the period of the lockdown and when initially, you had the shopping days, and you were very passionate about potatoes. And, we watched you at the press conference, and journalists would talk about the minister and the potatoes and ice cream. And the emotion that we saw was anger. What emotion comes to you now with this? Do you feel embarrassed? Do you feel angry? Do you feel sad? What do you feel?
Well, let me address the difference. Getting emotional and upset with individuals, and even more recently with someone who breached quarantine. When individuals purposely put us at risk, that is where you will see myself and the rest of my team being annoyed and upset. When we see that there is inadvertently infection or so, you can't get upset with the individuals or so. If we are able to determine that someone purposely put us at risk, that someone purposely did not wear their mask, purposely did not practice hand sanitizing, purposely did not follow social distancing, purposely went above the levels of social gathering, purposely breached quarantine, purposely after breaching quarantine went and stopped at a number of establishments, that would annoy anyone. But if someone in the carrying out of their day-to-day activities of employment dropped their guard, you cannot get annoyed with that person.
No, and I hope, and people sometimes misconstrue the question or the objective of the question. As Minister for Health, you have carried this baton and you have received a lot of accolades for carrying it well. And the question I was asking is, what are your feelings? Are you sad? Are you saddened by what happened?
Most definitely disappointed. We have been running a good track record. We have been realistic and pragmatic with this and have consistently said that this possibility exists. Most definitely, as Minister of Health, I would have preferred that this reality never occurred, or at least this occurrence didn't happen now. So yeah, there is disappointment for sure. It's not disappointment in the team. We have prepared for it. We have expected it. We have said to the public that it could happen. We have consistently said when members of the public, when we were criticized for going to Parliament to put legislation in place for this very eventuality, we were criticized by individuals. Why would we even contemplate passing those kind of legislations? Because we don't have COVID-19 in Grenada. And we consistently said, but we have to prepare for the possibility. So we have been always considering the fact that a day like this would come, have been imploring the public that it would probably happen exactly as it has happened, that by the time we find out, and I have said this previously, by the time we find out that there has been a breach, there would be individuals in the community that would already have been exposed. We have consistently said that is why the 3 levels of defense are needed. That yes, we have the border control. Yes, we have the testing, pre-travel testing. Yes, we have those who come into quarantine because they want to enter the rest of the community. And we have those who stay in facilities and can only leave those facilities to go to the airport. But we have said the reason that the rest of us, have to maintain the level of due diligence is for this eventuality. That if there is a leak, if there is a breach, if it does get out, if it does sneak in, it is realistically going to be a period before we find out. We're not going to know the individual as they get infected that they got infected. That's what we have consistently said. So what we have planned for it, we have said it, and it's still. My team, the 3 of us here, are disappointed the fact that this day has come. But we do have the contingency plans in. We have been straightforward with the public. If you go back and look at the recordings of various sessions of us coming on your program and any other program, we have said this.
Great. This is Beyond the Headlines. This evening, we are discussing developments which surfaced over the weekend with the spike in COVID-19 cases in Grenada. We have with us Dr. George Mitchell, Dr. Sean Charles, and our Minister for Health, the Honorable Nicholas Steele. We'll be right back after this commercial break. Do stay with us.
Get your home ready for Christmas with Island Style Talent Band. From now until Christmas, get amazing discounts of 15 to 50% off on porcelain and ceramic tiles. Save a whopping 50% off when you purchase all of a low stock model. Plus, get chip edge tiles starting at just $1. That's right. Ho, 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 just $1. More incredible in-store specials available to give you a head start on your home or commercial projects. Make your home more inviting this holiday season with our Ready for Christmas sale. Visit us on Monroe's Road, Grandad's, or call 439-TILE today.
Grenada Electricity Services Limited advises shareholders and other stakeholders about the postponement of its 61st annual general meeting, originally scheduled for Thursday, 17th December 2020. The decision to postpone the meeting follows the recently announced COVID-19 cluster. We apologize for any inconvenience and will provide further updates.
Food is fundamental, and at Caribbean Agro Industries Limited, we source premium quality wheat and other ingredients so you get the best results in the kitchen, bakeries and farms. For over 35 years, we've supplied Grenada with the finest flour and animal feed. The tastiest cakes, pastries or breads are baked with the region's finest flour. Buy the products you've trusted for all these years. Baker's Pride, Supreme and Sunshine Flour. Get the best from your farm animals with our Master Mix Feed brands. Support local. Buy products that are made in Grenada. Call us on 440-2954 or visit us at Mount Gay St. George or check our Facebook page. Caribbean Agro Industries Limited, a subsidiary of ADM. Unlocking nature, enriching life.
How going on, boy?
Hey, good old things.
Hey, easy.
Yeah.
Boy, in line, boy. Your house looking a real good day.
Boy, it's thanks to the hard-working and professional staff at the Housing Authority of Grenada. They handled me real nice. They did my plan, they did the construction, and I didn't even have to worry about a thing. They were there with me every step of the way, supervising the job, asking me about my concerns, giving me feedback as the house took shape. They were there from start to finish, and even put the keys in the palm of my hand. I give them an A++ for customer service.
Oh, Which people from housing bad, boy?
Boy, not bad. Excellent. If you're thinking about constructing your home, why not consult the Housing Authority of Grenada? You could visit them right down in the Sandino complex or give them a call 440-1015 or 440-1016 or check out their website hag473.com. They go handle you. They go jog your blocks, they go draw your plan, they go tote your materials. Hey man, where you going? The Housing Authority of Grenada is your choice for affordable housing and a stress-free construction experience.
Peace of mind comes from knowing that your family is safe and financially secure. For your peace of mind and theirs, plan ahead. Beacon's Rest Easy policy helps you to do just that. Rest Easy is a policy that offers you a payment upon your death or the death of any covered family member that can be used to offset post-mortem expenses. For as little as 75 cents per day, you can ensure that your expenses are covered. Call Beacon at 440-4447 and sign up for the Rest Easy plan today.
Total is one of the world's largest oil companies with a top quality line of lubricants. Total Lubricants has a full product line from passenger cars, motorcycle, heavy industrial equipment, mining, trucking, agriculture, and manufacturing machines and vehicles. Total Lubricants, winning championships in motorsports, including Formula One and World Rally Championships. Total Lubricants are available at all Rubis service stations, leading automotive shops, and distributed by Huggins.
Are you looking for quality herbs and herbal supplements? Or are you thinking about having a complete body cleanse to jumpstart your health? Then no need to look further. Visit Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. We carry a wide range of herbal products for kidney and gallstone cleansing, male sexual enhancement formulas, asthma and sinusitis, gas and bloating, acid reflux, constipation, arthritis, imbalanced hormones, female health issues, liver cleansing, weight loss, and so much more. Also available, colonic irrigation, holistic health consultations, essential oils, and diffusers. Look out for our online natural health store coming soon. Call 231-6642 418-7115 or 449-7753 to find out about our delivery options or to book an appointment. Visit us at Belmont St. George's, close to the Foliage, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic. Detox your way to health.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. This evening, we're looking at the latest COVID-19 status. And this evening, we have the Minister for Health, the Honorable Nicholas Steele, the Chief Medical Officer acting. We have Dr. Sean Charles and member of the COVID-19 committee, Dr. George Mitchell. And we are continuing the deliberations based on the updates that were provided yesterday, as well as the address given by the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell, this evening. He announced a 5-prong plan, and that includes limiting funerals and social gatherings to 10. And he has asked that all restaurants limit their service to takeout only, buses that to stop operating at 10 o'clock, businesses to go until 10 o'clock in the evening. And so we are continuing now. And Dr. Charles, I don't know if you're in a position to tell us. We've heard from Grenlec officially that in 2 of their departments, they're running skeletal staff because they have a staff member who was exposed through contact tracing. It was found. We have been hearing this evening that customs apparently is being closed or running on skeletal staff, and there is a car dealership in the south of the island. Do you have any word on that, Dr. Charles?
Well, what I can say is that I know that there are establishments that are examining their staff. The difference with this with this wave of COVID is that it is affecting younger persons. The individuals that are involved in this cluster are young persons, and young persons have the tendency to socialize. So we do understand that the individuals socialize. And of course, businesses are examining whether their staff members have frequented or attended places where potential cases or confirmed cases have been identified. And they are taking proactive steps to ensure that one exposed individual who potentially can turn into a case does not turn into patient zero for their organization and causes an outbreak that possibly can cripple their operations and result in even more negative consequences. So I am aware that there are some businesses that are taking the proactive step to curtail their operations where they have found that their staff members were engaging in social events where individuals who either tested positive or individuals who have been placed on quarantine because there is potential for them to be infected because of their contact or because of their close relationships to persons who are cases. All right, they are taking the steps to ensure that they avoid any negative situations in the future.
So can you tell us anything about the Customs and Excise Department? They have several departments. Have you heard or have you been informed? Has the committee discussed today the closure or the scaling down of operations at any of the Customs and Excise departments?
No, I am not aware of this, but I would imagine that Customs is an organization that have many branches. So, but this is something, and it would be sort of, difficult for every single branch to have been affected. But I am not aware of any news or any intentions to close Customs.
Have you heard
let me add to that, Odette, if I can. I would say that this is a kind of proactive action that we would welcome. I think what we need to recognize with an establishment that has 300 employees, that they are interrelated to almost the entire Grenada community, and that establishments, Customs, Grenlec, private sector, whoever, would take proactive measures, because in most places, the proactive leadership in various establishments would have thought this through already, this possibility or this inevitability, that if one worker related to, or if one employee was possibly exposed or infected, that they would come to a skeleton staff. So this is happening across the board, not just with Customs and Excise or with Grenec, because Grenec has made some public announcements about it. But there are quite a lot of private sector companies as well that are taking the proactive step.
Any word on the car dealership, which we understand has an outpost at Sandals?
As far as I'm aware, most of the entities that are associated to Sandals, whether it is tour groups, whether it is rent-a-car companies, it would be in this instance, would be taking their proactive steps.
If it is found, Mr. Minister, you spoke about the breaches, and we've had individuals who have breached quarantine. We had an American couple who was brought to court 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago. If it is found that Sandals is responsible for this and breached the regulations, what is the penalty for Sandals as an establishment?
If there is a breaking of the laws in Grenada, there will be. I've clearly said where an individual goes out of their way or breaks the law, where it says stay in quarantine until cleared, and the law says so, then yes, we take the person to task based on the law. We have had other establishments in Grenada that have had employees early in the epidemic that have had employees infected as well. The question wasn't asked then, unless you find that the establishment broke the laws. The laws are there to be adhered to, and if anyone breaks the laws, then the judicial system takes its own life. That has nothing to do with us as policymakers.
Mr. Minister, how do you respond to suggestions slash
Odette, can you allow
one
me
second,
for
one
a
second, Dr. Mitchell, one second. Let me
Odette,
go back to the minister. Minister, how do you respond
I'm
to
really sorry to
suggestions
be
and
that
claims
persistent.
that Sanders pressured the government to be allowed to reopen its doors and the public perception that Sanders apparently has preferential treatment? How do you respond to that, Mr. Minister?
Sandals did not pressure the government, Odette. There are many other establishments that are open as well. So for some reason, there seems to be a singling out that this is the only hotel and the only place that people come to and stay in Grenada. There are many other places open that individuals come to and stay in Grenada. So the flights that come in don't just bring people to that one establishment. The flights that come in bring people to a multiplicity of places. So I know there are many individuals out there that would like to single out this institution, but I think it is an unfair singling out. The government had to, we deliberated it in our release yesterday to name the establishment because it was all over social media already. So there was no reason to give them anonymity or so. And they have been dealing with that as well. But there have been positive cases in other establishments. There have been employees of other establishments that were infected while at work. And the question was never raised of would they be prosecuted or anything like that. There was never this type of witch hunt there. Now, if we find that there have been blatant ignoring of the rules and regulations, then yes, it will take a life of its own. It has nothing to do with the Ministry of Health or so, once the evidence does show. But I want to reiterate again, this is not the first place since this pandemic has been identified that has had employees infected. It may not be the last as well, and we need to treat it that way. The ministry is addressing it the same way we addressed the issue previously where employees were infected, to ensure that we remedy that situation, but also recognizing that as we move forward, there may be other instances where this happens again. And that is why we need to have the 3 levels of defense. We still need to, once we get on top of this situation, we still need to continue and to maintain the level of due diligence that we have been imploring the public to maintain.
Mr. Minister, can you give us the names of the other hotels where staff were infected?
I didn't say other hotels. I said there were other establishments here in Grenada since this pandemic where employees have been infected while at work.
So can you tell us, Mr. Minister, when that was told to the public? Because, and forgive me, I know I'm getting a little older, but one of the things we
Odette, let me be direct with you, and I apologize to the institution because you've raised Caribbean Agro. Caribbean Agro had employees infected. So your memory seems to be short, but Caribbean Agro had the employees infected very early, and it was very much out there. And I don't remember you or any member of the public asking if Caribbean Agro would be prosecuted.
Well, Mr. Minister, at the time, we probably did not have a program and we would have gone with the regulations. But the reason I ask you to name other establishments because, okay, so Caribbean Agro, and still the source of the infection at Caribbean Agro could not be identified at the time. If my memory serves me correct, there was discussion about the possibility of it happening at the port of entry when a shipment of feed came in. So there are those dynamics at play. That's why I wanted to be certain that you probably weren't talking about other workplaces, because I was going on to tell you that we always take notes of where these infections are from. And from the majority, I think, I'm not a mathematician nor statistician, but I think I can safely conclude that the reports we've had, 90% of the cases that we've had prior to the weekend was as a result of imported cases, correct?
Correct. Imported cases in other establishments. This is the first one in this establishment. Yes, it has increased to quite a lot of individuals, which is of major significance, why we're having this conversation here tonight. But there have been other establishments where individuals have shown up positive.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Minister. I think the clock is showing it's 9:30. We need to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll entertain phone calls from members of the public. This is Beyond the Headlines. Do stay with us as we take a quick break.
Get high making money moves with the NLA's new Aces High Scratch game with 4 chances to win. Beat the dealer's card to win the prize shown. Reveal an A symbol. And just like that, you are automatically a winner. Scratch away to win the top prize of $10,000. Win easy with Scratch. Must be 18 or older to play.
A pleasant evening to everyone. Welcome to the National Lotteries Authority's Lotto Draw number 3152 for today, Monday, December 14th, 2020. I am Anisha Charles. With me this evening is Ms. Jocelyn Clark from PKF Accountants and Business Advisors, whose purpose is to ensure that this show is conducted in a fair, accountable manner, and the game balls with industry standards and in no way tampered with. At this time, you should have tickets at hand because we are about to play for a jackpot of $74,000. But first, your free ticket letter. Good luck. Your free ticket letter for this evening is Check Your Tickets. This evening's free ticket letter is Key, as in key. Let's proceed for 5 winning numbers. Good luck.
First up this evening is Check Your Tickets. First number up is 26. Second number is 15. Third number up. Third number is 28, followed by 23, fifth and final number. Final number is 12.
Let's recap those numbers. Check your tickets. First number up is 26. The second, 15. Third, 28, followed by 23. Fifth and final is 12. So that's 26, 26, 15, 15, 28, 28, 23, 23, and 12, 12. Your free ticket letter for this evening is K, as in key. Congratulations to all the winners of this evening's Lotto Draw. Lotto, play and win a lot. When you play all the games of the National Lotteries Authority, support sports, culture, and the nation building. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful evening.
I'm a winner. You are winner. We are winners. Winners.
It's the big one. Grenada. Imagine winning $25,000 and up to 6 times by scratching just one little ticket. Get your triple cash scratch tickets for a chance to live your best life. Win easy with Scratch. For just $3, match any of your numbers to any of the winning numbers and win the prize shown for that number. Reveal a money back symbol and win the prize instantly. Triple cash scratch. In stores now. Must be 18 or older to play.
Cause I'm a winner. From the moment that I get up, I'm feeling right.
I can't believe what has happened to me. Granulec is paying my bill for free. A true friend helps you when you're in need. I gotta be a thought that pays my bill for free. One big winner gets their bill paid till December. 14 other monthly winners get their bill paid every other. The best things in life are free. Extra Granulec, the best has happened to me.
To enter, visit Grenulec's website and complete entry form, or WhatsApp your name, account number, and contact number to 405-6500. Enter by December 31st. Terms and conditions apply.
Peace of mind comes from knowing that your family is safe and financially secure. For your peace of mind and theirs, plan ahead. Beacon's Rest Easy policy helps you to do just that. Rest Easy is a policy that offers you a payment upon your death or the death of any covered family member that can be used to offset post-mortem expenses. For as little as 75 cents per day, you can ensure that your expenses are covered. Call Beacon at 440-4447 and sign up for the Rest Easy plan today.
These have been tough times, and we could all use a helping hand to get through this period.
GUT Credit Union gives you the opportunity to do just that without a worry. What are you looking forward to? A relaxing staycation? Brand new appliances or devices? Consolidating your debt to get more money in your pocket? Not a member? No worries. Come in and find out how you too can make the most of this offer. Call or visit us today. Yes, you can have a brighter Christmas season with GUT Credit Union. GUT Credit Union. It's where you belong.
Voyager Main Store is your favorite home goods store, and Voyager 2 stocks all your Christmas items. Both are located on Granby Street, St. George, on the upper and lower floors. Beautify your home this season with curtains from Voyager 2. Get 5 pieces for $75 or 4 pieces for $100. We also have a wide range of Christmas lights and Christmas trees with and without decorations. Voyager and Voyager 2. Check them out in downtown St. George's today.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. This evening, we're speaking with our Minister for Health, the Honorable Nicholas Steele, the Acting Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sean Charles, and Dr. George Mitchell, a member of the COVID-19 Committee. Dr. Mitchell, you wanted to make a point on something. I'm sorry, we had to continue a discussion with the Minister. Would you want to go back on the point, or we need to move fast forward?
Odette, I'm so happy that you've allowed me to engage in this Beyond the Headlines. I was wondering at one time if my mic was muted, and thereafter I wanted to question myself if you wanted me on the program by myself, because I was trying to butt in, and I thought at one time I was being a bit rude.
Dr. Mitchell, can you go ahead with the point that you wanted to make, because time flies already when we're having fun. So go ahead with the point.
I wanted the opportunity to say, Odette, that I think at this time what the public, and I'm not the best gauger of the public, but they really, really would like to know what the ministry has been doing to confront this current outbreak, and to ensure and to give confidence to the public that the ministry has embarked on a strategy, on a plan to ensure that we get this situation under control. And indeed, we have used the experience that we have gained from other situations to bring to bear on this particular outbreak. And I'm sure that Dr. Sean Charles, who is leading the efforts, would be in a position to give to the nation and the international community and all who are watching the program, in the diaspora, etc., that we are doing what we have done in the past to ensure that this situation is brought under control in a quicker time as possible, so that as we go forward, life could return, given what we find in the immediate future, to a sense of normalcy. So I think it's important that we give that to the public at this time. I would like to ask Dr. Charles to, if you don't mind, to speak about the contact tracing efforts and those efforts that we do to mitigate more risk and the spread of the virus.
All right. So, Dr. Mitchell, it looks as though you have, assumed the position of host. I am willing to cede the position. You could get a car and try and run into the studio quickly, or I could. Can I then be a guest?
I'm on my way.
Okay, great. Dr. Charles, let me ask you a question. As to his question, when he becomes a host, I'll certainly have him ask you those questions. Dr. Charles, when you were last on Beyond the Headlines, I had asked you whether we had a case of community spread, and you gave me the scientific lingo. Do you think we have community spread now?
Right. So if we are unable to control this cluster, we can end up with community spread. Right now, we have a cluster of cases that are linked to a particular site, and all our efforts are now directed at controlling this cluster or this outbreak, in an attempt to avoid a scenario where you have community spread, where there are cases appearing every way and you cannot trace who infected who.
So the answer is yes or no?
If we have community spread,
yeah,
the answer is no. We do not have community spread as yet. Our efforts are directed at preventing that.
All right, Dr. Charles, also as a follow-up, the random testing, is it implemented at other hotels?
So this is something that is going to be ongoing, and of course, as a result of this, will definitely be intensified, and yes, will extend to all the other properties that are receiving guests from overseas.
Okay, great. We have a caller on the line. Good evening, caller.
Good afternoon, miss. Good night, good night to the panel. Sorry for us to go after. Mr. Steve, I come to you for number one. I come to. Why are one person in Grenada to have the coronavirus in Sandal? You come and say the woman never travel and how come the woman have the virus in Grenada? Doctor, I must not tell lies and talk the truth. It's true to set you free, Mr. Steve. It must be last yesterday or so talking on television. And you were stammering, Mr. Steve. You were stammering. You were talking tonight again. Same you do tonight again. You're stammering. When you talk about you're stammering. Don't lie for us, Grenada.
Okay, thank you so much, caller. I'm not certain that Mr. Steele, were you able to? You understood the call? I'm not sure if I understood the point.
I wasn't sure the point he was making. I heard he said I was stammering, and because I was stammering, I'm lying. So I'm not sure what the point is or how to address that issue. Odette, I'll be guided by you as the host.
You're such a good sport. You're such a good sport. And to our listeners, you can view the number on screen if you're not watching on television. We'd just like to let you know the number you can call is 440-1252. 440-1252. So we have another caller on the line, I'm told. Caller, good evening. Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Yes.
Good evening.
Go ahead, we're hearing you. Go right ahead, we're hearing you.
Okay. The Dr. Charles just said that he had 11,000 tests, and we only have 71 or 72 cases, which is, I think, just less than 0.5 or 0.6% of the tests. Have they ever try to find out or inquire into some of the test results that are faulty? For example, the first batch of PCR tests we had here, it was not even 85% foolproof. I don't know where the second batch came from or how or where this others come from, but I could remember very early on in the situation, India had rejected some tests from a particular nation because those tests was pretty unreliable.
Let me ask Dr. Charles about that. Dr. Charles, do you trust all of the tests? And is it true that we've had faulty testing?
The thing is, I believe that there is gross confusion of the issues. PCR testing, RT-PCR testing, is the gold standard. It is the recommended test throughout the world for diagnosing infection with the virus that causes COVID. We do not produce the tests here. We source our reagents from the Pan American Health Organization. The machines we used are the top, or among the top recommended machines for use in the world. So we do not doubt, we have no doubts in our testing. I think the caller might have confused PCR testing with rapid testing, which we do not do to identify cases. right? We use RT-PCR, or reverse transcriptase PCR, and we have no doubts in the quality of the tests that we offer to our population.
Okay, great. We have another caller on the line. But before we take the caller, let's take the caller, and I'll come back. There's a question on Carriacou, Dr. Charles, that I want to come back to you on, but we have a caller. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yes,
to the host and a guest.
Yes, caller, go ahead.
Yes, I want to ask the minister why Sanders is not closed. Other institutions were closed in the past, and they have a couple of cases, or even one case they were closed. So why isn't Sanders closed now?
All right, Mr. Minister, you care to answer?
Yeah, as I've said, we've had within the hospitality sector picking up individuals who tested positive while at the institution. And Dr. Charles has also said that early when we knew very little about this virus, and also when we picked up a case specific to Caribbean Agro, where we did not have any importation, any people coming in, staying at Caribbean Agro. We did not have individuals working at Caribbean Agro who had recently traveled in also. That was why we had taken that drastic measure. In this instance, we know that that Sandals is and all of our hotels are receiving individuals who are coming in from areas where there is a high percentage of COVID-19 in the communities. And therefore, we know what the source is. And we are addressing, as has been said, we have asked that they are complying in terms of workers have reported in. They have chosen their workers to report in and stay at the facility while we make a determination of how many others in terms of testing all of their workers there. But in closing, it's not going to have that impact on based on the epidemiological situation and the advice that we have received from the scientists, so to speak, the medical community, that it is not necessary in this instance because there is a recognition of the source of the introduction of the virus.
Okay. And I want to get a question in on behalf of somebody from Carriacou. Dr. Charles, we understand that there are about 7 persons in quarantine and 2 businesses closed their doors as a precautionary measure in Carriacou. That should be 17 persons, all related to the current outbreak. Can you comment, Dr. Charles?
Yes, I am aware that there are a number of individuals who are in quarantine as a result of potential exposure that is linked to this cluster that we are presently investigating.
Okay. We have a caller. The calls are coming rapidly. Caller, good evening and welcome. Hello? Nobody's there? All right. So I have a question for Dr. Mitchell. Dr. Mitchell, can you tell us where to from here? Dr. George Mitchell? Dr. Mitchell is not there? Oh, he has exited the program. I'm sorry.
He seemed to have lost his connection. Odette, I knowing him very well, I'm sure it's not because you offended him. I think it must be a signal loss also.
We have another caller on the line. Caller, good evening.
Hello, good night.
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Yes, please. Go right ahead.
Yeah, well, good night to the panel. And I just want to say something. We never had COVID-19 here. What I gather from what Mr. Steele said, like you have a benefit for Mr. Steele, because the simple method to get rid of COVID-19 is to keep the borders closed. And if you open the borders, you have to expect you will input COVID-19. and them know that. But they just have us going on in circles and making us feel, well, we have COVID-19, yeah? But them importing the COVID-19. So the simple matter is close the borders and let we address the situation, you know. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let me address that. Let me address that directly. The mere fact that we're dealing with, and you just mentioned as far as Karakou, individuals who may be affected or concerned that they might be exposed, etc., shows just with one of our hospitality industry establishments how many individuals are intertwined, how many individuals and households are benefiting from the employment that continues. And that is why, while we recognize that there is a risk, responsible leadership dictates that we cannot adopt the policy of what that caller is saying. We cannot adopt a policy of saying, let's just keep our borders closed. Obviously, that individual is either not connected to anyone in the hospitality industry or has not realized that they are connected to the hospitality industry. We have to make transition and shifts to other forms of national income, to other forms of contributors to our GDP. But it is not a switch. You cannot just simply say that because there is COVID-19, as I've heard certain members of the opposition say, that because there's COVID-19 now, we need to focus on agriculture, and therefore we can just ignore the hospitality industry, and somehow the individuals working in the hospitality industry will be able to make an income, will be able to survive, will be able to put bread on the table. No, as a responsible government, and has happened throughout the region and the world, we have found a way as best as possible to keep or to reopen our borders. We closed in order to put things in place. We found a way as best as possible. We have been honest and frank with the population, saying that there is a risk. But this risk, as opposed to the inevitability of starvation and economic collapse, is one that we as a nation should take. And that is what we have done. We have said that this is a possibility, but I want to again end by the point I made in the beginning. The mere fact that we can see for sure, unquestionably, how many people are interconnected to workers directly with this establishment shows the benefit and the need to have establishments like these open, and for us to direct our discussions and our focus on reducing the risk involved in keeping them open.
Okay, we have a call on the line, but quickly let me ask Dr. Charles. Dr. Charles, a question here. What psychological help is being offered to families of the COVID-19 positive workers from Sandals, and families on quarantine are losing money? Will it be termed sick leave? How do employers pay for this?
Right. So with regards to the first question, what we aim to do is to partner with other agencies and other ministries that can assist in providing psychological support. I know that this is something that is being looked into right now because I was asked about it sometime last week by, I believe, the parliamentary rep for that area. So the psychological support is something that we have provided in the past for individuals who have been in quarantine, and it is something that, yes, we are going to extend to the individuals in question at present. With regards to the second question, I'm not sure if I am able to answer that question because it's more of a policy issue as to than a technical one. With regards to payment for persons who are in quarantine, I'm not sure if Minister Steele can address that one because I'm not too versed on what available benefits there are for persons who temporarily are out of work as a result of these issues. It's not a standard issue where you issue a sick leave for someone who is sick and they are compensated by the NIS. So I will yield on that question.
Okay.
It's sorry, Odette, go ahead.
Okay, Minister Steele, let me just, we've had a caller who's been very patient. Let me ask them to come in and then we come to you. Caller, good evening. Thanks for your patience.
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead. We're listening and we're hearing you.
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead. We're running out of time. Go ahead.
Yes. What I wanted to say, can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yes. I recently traveled from the UK, myself and my husband, and had to stay in quarantine for 8 days. In 8 days, and at a huge cost. So at a huge cost to ourselves. It seems to be, I'm a Grenadian, and what seems to be happening, there is one rule for the locals and another rule for visitors.
Okay, so caller, we are having a little bit of difficulty hearing you, unfortunately.
We had to have a test on the 4th day and wait for a result.
Okay, so we'd have to terminate that call, unfortunately.
Odette, coming into Sandals and not having a test.
All right.
Okay, Odette, I think I understand the point that the caller is trying to make, and let me clarify this. The caller, the individuals could have come from the UK on that same flight with the caller and go to Sandals. That caller came to come and spend time with us and community here in Grenada. Both of them would have had to have taken a PCR test before leaving the UK. Both of them on arrival at the airport would have been screened exactly the same. Both of them would have been transported by approved transportation to an approved facility. Both would have had to have paid for that facility. Both of them have to remain at that facility. Both of them can only leave that facility on two conditions. One, after receiving a PCR negative test, which is done on day 4, or 2, if they have no desire to enter Grenadian community, to leave to go to the airport. So there isn't a differential in treatment. The individuals who come to Sandals have no desire to stay. They've just come to enjoy sun, sea, and sand. And they come, stay there. They're not about to go visit friends and family in Grenada. They're not about to go spend extended time. They're not coming for a funeral or for a wedding or for Christmas with family. They're coming to stay at an establishment and enjoy sun, sea, and sand. Everything on the entry protocol is exactly the same that lady explained as for the visitors to Sandals. The only difference is that lady took a test, and her husband, as she says, on day 4. And when she got the results, she was allowed to leave and walk with the rest of us and spend time with the rest of us. The individuals in Sandals are not allowed to do that unless they take the same test that she took. If they do not take that test, they leave and they go back to the airport at the end of their stay and go back to the UK. So there isn't a preferential treatment.
Okay, so the minister has clarified the point that there isn't any preferential treatment, and we have come to 9 o'clock where we must wrap up this evening. Dr. Charles, your closing thoughts at this time.
I just want to once again encourage the public to cooperate with us as we embark on this new fight. I know and I have full confidence that our team will get this under control. The measures that were outlined by the Prime Minister are an attempt to slow the spread so that the health team can catch up. The virus had a small head start, but these measures are designed to slow it, to give us the chance to catch up and to control it. And I am confident that we will achieve this, but we do need the public to cooperate with us. We are encouraged by the steps that are taken by many businesses and organizations. All right? It means that there are persons out there that do understand the risk and they are willing to fight the fight with us. We want to encourage all the public to join with us as we once again fight this introduction of the virus and assist us in being successful at this and returning to some degree of comfort once again.
Great. And Mr. Minister, what are your closing words to the Grenadian public this evening?
Odette, I want to follow on exactly from where Dr. Charles has ended, to say that throughout this pandemic, we're all in this together. I find a lot of attention is being paid to the establishment as opposed to the incidents. And the reality of the situation is that our borders are open so that we can, as I have drawn and shown, the mere fact that we are able to say and discuss how many sectors of Grenada have been impacted from this shows the need and necessity to have our borders open and to find that mechanism to keep those borders open. Where our focus is right now from the ministry is on the employees in our hospitality sector. The protocols being implemented by this institution are the same protocols being implemented by all of our hospitality sector institutions, as well as hospitality sectors throughout the region. That is where we are focusing our efforts, and as well as to make a determination on the amount of individuals that are possibly exposed or are infected from this. The measures that were announced earlier today are in order to allow us to make this determination and to get on top of this situation in the same way that we have with other situations. I have full and complete faith in our frontline team, Dr. Charles, the contact tracers, our nurses in the frontline doing the swabbing and testing, our lab, our ability to make a determination between a positive and a negative case, the integrity of our lab testing, full confidence in that. It has been tried and tested and double-checked with institutions like CARFA, SGU, and Pan American Health Organization. So this is not what any of us, first and foremost myself, would want. It is the reality that we have right now. The ministry is disappointed. Yes, we regret the fact that this has happened. It is something that we have been discussing. It is something that we have said is a possibility. In fact, it is something that we have said is almost inevitable, that we have to deal with it. All we are asking the Grenadian community to do at this point in time is what we have been asking the Grenadian community to do since the outbreak of this pandemic. Practice the proper wearing of masks, social distancing, and hand sanitizing, and to minimize social gathering. Because of this threat level, we have reduced the number to 10, and we have asked the public to be home by 10. Now, let me clarify that too, because I think there are some people who are confused there. Establishments, restaurants, bars, business places are expected to close by 9, so that employees, as we have done throughout when we did have a curfew, 1 hour before the time, businesses are expected to close to give their employees that 1 hour to get home. So just for clarity, on the Prime Minister's address, he said 10 p.m. that means that all business places, save and except for essential services, are to be closed by 9 p.m. So as we go through this, it is communication. I want to thank you, Odette, for the opportunity to have discussed the issues at hand. I look forward to another opportunity to discuss the relevant issues. I hope that we are able, as we move forward, to focus on the relevant issues, which is that the hospitality industry is interconnected to almost every individual here in Grenada. It is part and parcel of our survivability, even if and when, and as we focus more attention on agriculture and other industries, the hospitality still has a part to play in this. And in closing, because we are public health and information is most important, I want to take the last couple of seconds just to say questions that were raised with respect to one of our housing developments and an outbreak of mosquitoes and disease. That is most definitely not the case, confirmed officially by the Ministry of Health. There was an outbreak of mosquitoes, treated the same way that the Ministry of Public Health individuals will deal with any area that they find where mosquitoes are breeding. The mosquitoes in question in this instance were the Culex mosquitoes. The Culex mosquito is not a threat to the public here with respect to any virus. The only virus that the Culex mosquito carries is the West Nile virus. The West Nile virus does not exist in this region. The area was treated because it was an open area with water that mosquitoes breed. It was treated for the breeding of mosquitoes, full stop, nothing else. Thank you, Odette.
Doc, so every Beyond the Headlines, you just take 10 and 15 more minutes, so then I will detain you further in detention.
You need to give us a half an hour more.
We'll have to think about that. So you were clarifying the question made by Kalisha Farry yesterday?
Yes, I took the point there because in this time where the public, there's a level of public uneasiness as a whole, I think it is important to dispel any rumors or so that may cause further uneasiness by our members of the public.
All right. So, Dr. Charles, the minister has come to your defense because she accused you of not answering her calls. Mr. Steele.
You have to admit, and I think she should recognize, or anyone should recognize right now, Dr. Charles needs to be forgiven for not answering calls because of the number of calls and the gravity of the situation that he's dealing with.
And Minister Steele, just before you run off, vaccines, Grenada in the lineup, any plans for any vaccines to get here anytime soon? We are, as we have said, we are not going to implement a vaccine that is not approved by the Pan American Health Organization or the WHO. That does mean, though, that a vaccine quite likely will not be introduced into Grenada until February or March for the earliest. We are seeing on various international news media vaccines being used in the UK and the US. That is because the UK independently, not waiting on the WHO or Pan American Health Organization, sorry, in the UK's case, WHO, not waiting on them, and in the US using their CDC, and you would hear clearly that they're saying that they have allowed emergency approval of it. We do need to address, and we are addressing as a region, us looking at any and some of those vaccines and looking at a fast tracking before or helping PAHO to fast track an introduction, because we're all looking to put this pandemic behind us. But right now, we are having those discussions. We will, like in any of the other discussions, come to the nation and let them know where we are and at what stage we are. At the moment, we are confirmed for delivery of approximately the first 20% of our vaccines will come, with the first delivery, in my estimation, would be about March of 2021. March of 2021. Those are the words that we're going to be left with tonight by Minister Steele. So, Minister, you bet your bottom dollar by April next year, GBN News will be back at you for an update on that. May I thank...
I would like you to be there in January to say that we have been able to bring it in faster than that.
Well, let's look forward to January. January is just a few days away, Mr. Minister. Just remember that. Today it's the 15th of the month. We have 15 days to go. Let me thank both of you gentlemen for staying the course with us this evening. The Minister for Health, the Honorable Nicholas Steele, and the Acting Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sean Charles. And I want to thank you, the gentlemen, for engaging with members of the public and not shying away. We know that a lot of government officials, whenever we have sticky issues like this, they shy away from the press, but you have not. You have answered the questions to the best of your ability. And we want to thank you sincerely for having stayed the course with us this evening. We did have Dr. George Mitchell with us, but by some strange means and mechanism, he dropped off. The minister says he thinks he must have had some kind of internet issues, and we accept that as an explanation. To you members of the public who have joined in on the debate, we want to thank you as well. To those of you who called in, on behalf of the entire production team here at the GBN, I'm Odette Campbell saying so long for now, and we'll see you again on another edition of Beyond the Headlines. Thanks again, Minister. Thanks again, Dr. Charles.
Thank you, Odette. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.